Not be having too much time, don't worry. We're actually lacking.
Less than an hour.
No.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, 45. We'll try for 50 minutes. All right. I think we can do it. So we're gonna skip, really, guys. Just skim on that topic because it's important. I want naturally to spend the next time, our next topics on communication and stakeholder interaction. It's important. But I want also to give you a brief overview of the structure of the government. Too many people don't understand when we speak of a Department of Commerce or Commission of Commerce what we are talking about. So we will be just explaining briefly using that chart. And we've looked for, actually, I've had a staff look for a day and a half online identifying all of the China government chart in order to find the best and be able to source it. We didn't, so we decided, well, let's build our own, right? Now, we won't be talking about the party. I'd love to talk about it. It's another topic, and it's something that we would discuss for 2 or 3 hours, really. But it's important that it's beyond the chart because technically, and well, the president says it, the party is over the state. When you are in a room and you have the president, you have the chairman, and you have the party secretary of the company or whatever organization, you technically need to speak to the party secretary. He is the most powerful person in the room, okay? When your president or chairman party cannot attend your invitation and he's sending his party secretary instead, he's actually making you a gesture. And so you need to raise the level of face you are going to give them. You need to just upgrade your stuff because the party secretary is technically over the organization. And in 2016, we actually had Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at our annual general meeting in Shanghai. And when we wanted to issue an invitation to Shanghai stakeholders, we did not invite the mayor. We invited the party secretary. Okay, because he's technically the highest ranking person in this part of the government. And then inside the government, you have the National People's Congress, which we looked at, right, the legislative branch. And then the standing committee, 7 people, the 7 most powerful men in China are on that standing committee. And then you have a few more layers, but diving into the State Council, which is the State Department, right? The State Department has all of the ministries, and each ministries have offices, and then within the office level, this is where, of those ministries, at the office level, this is where you can start pinpointing people. For example, the Director of American and Oceanic Affairs at the Ministry of Commerce is a good friend of CCBC. So this is where you need to begin working your government and stakeholder mapping skills. There's actually from the national leader level, where there's 5 or 6 people that hold the title of national leaders, down to the untitled and no-name working staff, there's about 17 levels of decision making. Okay, so when you have business cards and you play the game of like, whoa, where are they and everything, this can get pretty confusing. And I'm not saying that in a government and a stakeholder mapping you should be able to do that, but you need to be able to know, where are they positioned. If you have a localized strategy, then you're not dealing at this level. You may have to meet these people, but you're actually doing this. From National People's Congress down to local levels People's Congress, into provinces, cities, and towns that have, if you double click on this, what is appearing, it's actually a recursive structure where the cabinet level departments are actually copy pasted into provinces and cities and towns. So all provinces have ministries in commerce and finance. In the province, they're called departments. In the cities, they're called commission. And in towns, I believe they're called commissions as well. But it's I've never dealt so much with towns. This is more of the rural 3rd and 4th county level stuff. But in the cities, they will be called commission. In provinces, they're called departments. So you need to be aware. Titles are also at the end of this deck. You have 3 slides where we explain titles in Chinese, because the translations from English to Chinese are actually very confusing. Let me give you an example. The chairwoman of the Shanghai Commission of Commerce holds the title of director. So unless she will be, when she walks into a room, she will be surrounded by tens of people because everyone wants to speak with her and she is kind of surrounded with an aura, right? But if you receive that business card and you are not aware that Juren on a commission level should actually be translated to chairwoman because she's the most important person on that board and her title says director, you're missing out on something big because she's technically the minister of commerce, right? She's the chairwoman of that commission, but she's the Minister of Commerce of Shanghai. So you need to kind of be sure that you can do your mapping right as well and not get confused on the levels. So this is basically what I wanted to tell you, where local levels, people, congresses have as well departments and ministries. You could argue Canada has the same, right? Provinces have their own ministries and cities have their own departments. But in Canada, they happen to be kind of more parallelly and somehow connected by the federation and so on. In China, this is a direct line of control. The cities answers directly to the provinces answer directly to the central government, and this is top down. However, be aware that there's a big disconnect still between what the central government issues and what local leaders are going to do. So it's an historic issue, right? You could go back to the empire of the centuries ago and see how the empire in Beijing or whatever capital is having issues and enforcing their policies to the local leaders because they don't want to do it and they always fiddle out. It's a past story, it's a modern story. So the central government, their own role and their own drive is to enforce their policy to make sure local leaders are doing their work. And there's always been a disconnect into this, but still they are directly responsive, responding. We'll get it. All right. We won't look at that. So yeah, Shanghai Municipal People's Congress have their own office, so you need to look at this. And then within each of those, you also have sub-offices and people. But these are direct line of control as well. To be honest, even though Shanghai is a huge economy with 25 million people, when you get down to the government, yes, their government structure is much larger than ours, but you still pretty quickly get it to the individual level because you will, unfortunately, push aside every working level staff. Actually, you won't meet them, because they're in the office working. At the meetings, you will meet with the leaders. And so you very quickly will get to the individual level, the people that you need to meet. And to be honest, at the Shanghai Commission of Commerce, there's maybe 6 or 7 people in Shanghai that you want to meet. And you will meet them if you go into the right meetings, into the right places, and if you get invited, if you communicate with the stakeholders, right? And if they make you play those cards at the right timing, and they will, because it's a team sport. We won't look at that. The Ministry of Commerce, just for your reference, I want to give you an example, right? We are at the State Council, General Office, Cabinet level, all of those ministries, there's about 35, so there's even more. And the State Council also overviews all of the organizations under the State Council. There's still, again, over about 35, from Xinhua News Agency to AQSIQ to the Customs to anything is under State Council, really. They're supervising the whole state. But if you double click on Ministry of Commerce, then you get this. And these are all of the offices within Industry of Commerce. And again, the working level people are in the office. You won't see them. So if you look at the individual relationships you will have with, let's say, foreign trade within the Ministry of Commerce, yeah, there's about 8 to 10 people that you need to know and that you need to meet within these offices. So even there are 1.4 billion people and we're Ministry of Commerce level, right? This is the highest level decision-making people for foreign trade at Ministry of Commerce. You need to be aware of the power structure you're talking to and that you're working with. But still, it's 8 to 10 people, right? So if you speak to the right person, you can actually access power structures that are really, really overlooking huge aspects of the population quickly enough by using your stakeholders, right? If you email those guys, you will never receive an answer. If you talk to the embassy, so that they promote your case or your opportunity at the right moment in the right meeting, and you have the ambassador having a bullet point saying, you know, at that meeting, raise that, okay, yeah, okay, and then they initiate all of the cogs into the machine so that 2 months later you get invited into a good meeting and the guy is there, you're gonna have to have your opportunity to make your point. So 8 to 10 people in each office, this is the kind of mindset you need to have. We won't look at that. All right, so communication, business. All right, and yes, okay, we'll start with kind of a 10,000 feet view because this is what we need. And I need to make just a few disclaimer here. Okay, I'm going to make a lot of generalization because what do I want to do? I want to plant in your machine those levers that you can pull so that in order to adapt yourself in your interactions with Chinese, right? There's 1.4 billion individuals, there's 1.4 billion stories, 1.4 billion likes and dislikes. If I tell you most Chinese like piano music and you know a Chinese that doesn't like piano music, well, take it, you know, on your own level, right? You need to adapt yourself on every single interactions. They're individuals, they're humans. So we're going to make generalizations so that you have the right tools in order to say, oh, this person really is responsive when I give him a lot of face, right? Or this person is really humble and so on. So I want you to kind of be able to grasp the context. And this whole context starts with one thing, filial piety. It may seem weird, but let me get that straight. Filial piety is the core concept that is part in the 4 classics of Confucius. And I am synthesizing like 12,000 characters and thousands of years of history and philosophy into a single character. So just like bear with me, right? But filial piety is the thread into the works of Confucius and that have heavily influenced both the state, the administration, family values. It is a paternalistic and very kind of a leadership or leader-driven society. So in China, you follow the leader. You follow what the leader says. The leader is your father, the leader is your boss, it's the teacher, and it's the president, right? And a lot of others. So, and it's not a bad thing, it's just that this is how people are born and raised into China and in the education system. You follow the leader and you don't ask questions because you don't question the authority of the fatherly figure. Now, there's a lot of comments we could make. I could turn into a philosophy class in Confucius, which I won't. But filial piety, parental authority, family hierarchy, this is kind of all core concepts into the Chinese culture, and it influences business and daily life, right? When the government emits messages and comments within the media, this is into those values that they're playing. Now, there are 5 core Confucian concepts that I want to show with you. We could have tens of others. We could also bring a lot of nuances to what I'm going to show you. I'm planting seeds, right? Putting levers so that you can adapt yourself. The first one is 和谐, which is for the leading figure, for the paternal figure, the government, but also into every institution, the boss or the father, it is this person's role to maintain harmony within his organization. So it is the government role to maintain harmony within society, it is the father's role to maintain harmony within his family, the boss's role within his company. And so if you have a joint venture with a Chinese, or even a business relationship, you should wash your dirty clothes in private. And sometimes I personally, I'm a very Western business person, so when you piss me off in a meeting and we walk into a public event right after, chances are I'm still going to look pissed off on my face when I walk into the room. I need to work on this, but in China, you should not. In China, in public, harmony is reigning. This is why also, why generally speaking, that bad news won't be addressed publicly and that the government will. You'll never see a Chinese leader walking up to the microphone saying, the time is urgent, there is a crisis. They will say it, but in very kind of form. They won't address crisis in public because it will disrupt harmony. And, let's be honest, 1.4 billion people, I think you gotta maintain harmony somehow, right? And so the train system, they've gone through it. It's 100-year, right? The Great China Revolution. I mean, they know. 和谐, the high-speed train system, is called harmony. The high-speed train system is called harmony in China. And why? Well, that's a winning bet from the Chinese government, right? Give the people the right and the possibility to move around cheaply. They will do business. They will go on with their life. You will maintain harmony. So kindness, 人情, it's opening up wholefully to the person you are talking to, maintaining friendly relationship and wanting to come closer to them and be involved on a personal level, right? When the Chinese are telling you that they want a long-lasting relationship, that they are into the long term, that they want to, that they invite you on a Sunday to have dinner with their family, sorry, I'll just close the sound. They actually are playing 人情. They want you to become their close friend. And in China, relationship comes first, business comes second. You will, if you have a very strong business relationship with someone in China, you will go to their sons and daughters' wedding. Okay, and this is actually the biggest honor you could be made in China, to attend someone's wedding. My staff in China, to which I hired and I gave an opportunity to become a middle-class citizen, he invited me to his wedding, and I gave him a huge gift because this is what this is what was required. So, 人情, I also pretty much like the concept of 亲热, which is heart warmness. And it's when someone comes to you and show you his business card and gives you time, you must invest yourself. If you have 5 minutes and you have something on your mind, but you want to connect with that person, put all of that aside. You need to connect. You need to look at the business card, keep it in your hand. Don't put it in your pocket. Keep it in your hand and connect with that person. And if you need to go, you need to wholefully explain yourself and show that you are very sorry that you need to go, right? And if you say, I am sorry, I need to go, say it 5 times. And it's just in the communication level, in the communication style of Chinese, just a side note, okay? The Chinese will repeat, because the way the Chinese language is made, they will repeat what they're saying a number of times, but that's just embedded into how they communicate. That's why when you're here on the metro in China, and people want to close a discussion, right? They will not say, oh, okay, see you. They say, 好好好好好好好好谢谢好好行行行行行行好好好谢谢谢谢 and so this is how you close a discussion, and it makes me laugh every time. It cracks me up because there's like, can't you just and when I'm on the phone with Chinese people, I actually sometimes I play around with them because I'm like, okay, see you. And I listen to them, they're like, ha, ha, ha. And they're just like into that reflex of, just because in Chinese they will communicate. Ha, ha, da, da, da. So if you say, I'm sorry, or just, I'm sorry, okay, I'm sorry, you just wholefully invest yourself into that relationship, okay? Now, red envelopes and giving gifts, yes, and we'll talk about that, I hope. Guanxi, it is a Chinese concept. You will never have Guanxi. Put a dash to it. It's if you work on it 14, 16 hours a day on investing yourself into a broaderly network that is kind of even a bit shadowy because you're not, the information stays inside and you're moving together as a team. This is a Guanxi. This is an actionable, personalized network. This is a closely knit network of people moving together. The people you've graduated with at the university and that you've been keeping in touch for years, decades, this is your Guanxi. Chinese political leaders, the top 200 people at the Chinese Communist Party, have on their desk red phones. The red phones is an encrypted line that connects to all other red phones, no outside system. And it doesn't come with a phone book. So if you want to call another red phone, you need to know the number. But if someone knows your number, but you don't know theirs, they can make your phone ring. So if someone calls and he knows your number, but you don't know his, chances are he has Guanxi over you. And if he asks something on that red phone, chances are you're going to do it, right? Because they're moving as a pack. I mean, you're a political leader of China. Are you going to, you're moving to get, this is the Guanxi, right? This is being able to call someone for a favor into a non-committing, promise of returning back the elevator. It's a network of power which you cannot, as a foreigner, draw. You can have very good relationship, very deep relationship with people. It's just that Guanxi is a pure Chinese concept, which requires, there may be a few foreigners that have Guanxi for sure, but I'll tell you what, those people have transformed into Chinese. They've transformed into their mindset, into their daily lives and their behaviors, into Chinese chairmen, and I know a few of them. But there are people that have been residing for decades into China, that will die in China. They are Chinese people now with a foreign face. But still, develop, yes, your network and refresh them. Your Chinese partner expects you to be in China every 6 to 8 weeks. Or they at least expect you to meet every 6 to 8 weeks. You can invite them to Canada, you can see them at a trade show, you can connect with them personally, but you need to yourself connect with them. Don't send your working staff, you're making them lose face. Send your chairman, for sure, but have that personal relationship maintained and involved. It is, even though there's 1.4 billion people, it is relationship first, business after. Right? So don't maintain a business relationship, maintain a personal relationship with the people with whom you're transacting. Face is the most important. And if the words exist and the expressions exist in English, is that the concept is also used in business, right? No one wants to lose face. No one. But for Chinese and for Asian society in general, face is excessively important. And you win and lose face in China much more easily than you do in North America. If I stand up in a meeting and I say something and someone says, you're wrong, and this is the reason why, okay, but I haven't lost face, we went into an argument and that's fine. In China, issuing a criticism towards someone in public is making him lose face. That's why in meetings, people don't ask questions or will not issue so much comment in front of the leader in not to make him lose face, the leader, and not to risk as well losing face. So in a team meeting in China, when the leader says, are there any questions? He expects to have no questions. It doesn't mean that no one has issues with that has been said. And if there has issues and the leader maintains a good corporate Chinese structure, the people will come see him in private, in his office, and will say, boss, I think we're making a mistake. And they will have a one-to-one discussion first, and then they will take it off. If you have criticism to issue to someone, always do it publicly. If you have criticism to issue to your partner or your clients, do it over a meal, so that you register that not in the context of a pure criticism, but in the context of a general discussion where you maintain your relationship, but you also make sure that you're well aligned. It has to be a Guanxi-based communication, right? We are brothers. I am telling you something, but we are continuing to work together. Look, we're having a meal, and you will bury that criticism over 30 minutes of good friend talk, right? But you are still issuing that comment. The key takeaway point here is that China is a high context culture, like most Asian countries. You need to be aware of the whole context. So here, when I say Guanxi, this is kind of the Western's view. I have a relationship with you, I have a relationship with you. But when I'm in the office, I'm not thinking, how are your relationship impacting mine? In China, you do. In China, you need to take it to another level where you're thinking of how the stakeholders interact and may impact your own relationship. Which means that if you have criticisms to issue, and it is a heavy criticism, you can, and maybe you should, have this criticism be issued by a third party who will sit down with this person and say, you see what's in your relationship with John or in your plan, I think this is wrong. And when it happens for CCBC or members, we actually bring that to this level where can it be issued by someone else? And it's often natural, it's like, yes, probably. Why would there be a reason for this guy to get involved in your personal relationship if he wasn't dispatched by someone else? Right? Again, generalizing, take it into the context of your personal relationship. Taking away face or giving face. If you're invited to a banquet and you send someone over your rank, you're giving face. It's very important. It's all about social status. It's all about social status, and if a Chinese tells you title doesn't matter, he's lying. Titles matter, social status matters. This is the only thing that defines them from one another. Well, I'm saying only, right? Generalizing again, they still have an identity. But if you want to get ahead in life, you need a title, you need a status, and you need people to recognize you. If you could be the president of your home, right? You have your own business card. If people doesn't recognize your home as important, they won't give you face, they won't give you recognition. You need to be recognized. So giving face is giving recognition. And how you give recognition? You don't give recognition on a one-on-one. I could take you aside and say your work has been outstanding, thank you, thank you. It will work in our relationship. But if you're not kind of giving face to that person in front of the crowd, by recognizing and giving him recognition, you are not supporting his own cause. And Chinese, in general, are excessively good at giving face. I mean, when I was in China, I was a young guy. Yes, learn Chinese, speak Chinese and everything, but I was one guy, right? We had an office with 4 people. Still, I'm representing the Canadian industry and 400 members that are based in Canada, and I'm walking into a room sitting up front with everything, they're mentioning me, please rise, applaud you. I'm like, whoa, hello. And then it's okay. But yes, but they are excessively good at giving face, recognizing who you are. This is why premiers or ministers of any given state, any given province will come into China and be welcome as a head of state. You could be 100,000 people, you could be 5 million people, you go into China, you will be recognized by the FAO, the Foreign Affairs Office, as a head of state, because they're giving you face. Okay, and taking away face, well, if you stop to ask yourself, is this taking away face in my relationship? It is. Just take it, it is. Humility, it's just I'm just saying it because Chinese are individually very humble, and the way you should just interact with that is if you have, again, just the other side of criticism, right? If you have compliments to give to someone and you want to do it in an earnest way, you could do it publicly if you want to play the Western card, but so it may, if you show up in your office every 3 to 4 months as the foreign boss and you say, oh, I'd like to recognize, Liu's work into being outstanding at work, and no. You don't know about local politics and how those people interact in this office. So if you have, really compliments to make to someone, take it in private. Play those cards in your personal relationship, because you don't necessarily want to mess up as well how the local dynamics work in any office or in a teamwork. So and it's if you give a gift to someone, he may refuse it 1 time, he may refuse it 2 times. Just keep pushing. After 3 times, if he says no, well just see. If he earnestly says no, well, okay. And if he earnestly says no, he's kind of making you lose face, but it's because there's somehow he cannot take it. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So China is a high context culture. You need to be aware of where this is taking you, how the stakeholders interact among themselves, and how this will impact your own relationship, your own presence. You may think I'm telling you to be paranoid. Yes, somehow. You need to go back into the office after a meeting with any stakeholders, and sit down with your team and say, so how did that go? How did that happen? And someone will say, well, I saw her being less interested into that when you said this, and said, yes, sure, but didn't his worker, his working level take notes? And I'll tell you, the Consul General of Canada in Shanghai does this with his team every single meeting. So if you want to play it real, do it. This is how you should behave in a high context culture. This is how the experts do it. So expressing opinion, during negotiating a contract, they will want to discuss about everything else but the most important thing, which is probably pricing and delivery date. And it can get to people, but how do you play this, right? Maybe it's because the important issues, especially if you're negotiating team to team, are not to be discussed in public, in front of working level people. Because there may be some more context that you're unaware of and things that should not be said publicly. So if you want to talk about pricing, preemptively plan what you need to be said. Have 2 people work on their guanxi personal relationship, discuss the pricing off the record, and get some sort of agreement during a private dinner. So that when you arrive, the tough things have already been discussed by the leaders, and there's no one there to see that either you or him lost face somehow. It's a brotherly or sisterly discussion. We all come to an agreement and we won't discuss it publicly, right? Take this to the personal level. Toughest point should be discussed off the table, and small items should be discussed by the working level people. So you get an agreement that's an over-the-counter that can be yes says, that should be in contract. Always have a contract in China. I always have it chopped. One person in every single organization in China can sign a contract. One person. This is the legal rep, the legal representative. There's a database called the SAIC, the State Administration for Industry and Commerce. It's super easy to find in Chinese. You need to input the Chinese name of the company. The report is in Chinese, but still, the legal rep is clearly listed. This is the core information. No registration in SIC is there without the legal rep. And the contract needs to be signed and needs to be chopped by the legal rep. If not, when you bring this to the Chinese court, you will get dismissed, and then you'll turn around and say the Chinese courts are rigged. No, you just didn't get it signed by your legal rep, all right? It will have full force effect if it is signed, because if then the legal rep can show up and says, sir, there was a second level working staff that got dismissed as soon as we found out this mistake, and we have never confirmed that contract. It is non-standing, and you will get dismissed. So the mouth says yes, the mouth says no. There is no yes or no in the Chinese language, which means that you must be flexible enough to accept that there may be uncertainties in your discussion and in your contract, right? Once you sign the contract, they will keep negotiating. It's just that you got a signature so you can move forward, but they still try to enforce something, right? It's normal because the mouth says yo, the heart says no, but still, and if you're negotiating at a negotiation table and you are kind of putting your Western hat and being a bit pissed off because maybe you're tired and for many reasons, and you want to get something done, and you're saying to your interpreter, he's speaking too long. Can I get a yes or can I get a no? Right? Can you just communicate? And this, you're losing your temper and you're making everyone lose face here. So just take a step back, go take a breather. It can get to I've seen it. It can get to Western minds because it's just not happening, right? Why are you talking 30 seconds when I'm just asking for a yes or a no? And it's just the context. It's the context. And maybe yes. Again, maybe yes. You signed a contract, you signed a deal, you go back to home, and you come back 3 or 4 months, and the deal doesn't work anymore, or there's something. It's because of a high context culture. It's because of Guanxi, right? Maybe your partner told you, sure, John, no worries. That permit, we'll get it. It's not a worry. It'll cost nothing. And then you come back 3 months and he says, sorry, it seems that we won't be able to get the permit. It's a big issue. We're going to miss the deadline. You're like, how come? Well, maybe because he had Guanxi to that guy, and that guy got fired, or there was some things happening between them, and that guy got fired, so he lost his Guanxi within the office, and he's not going to get the permit. And when he signed the contract, he thought he would, but now he got. So be aware of that high context culture, right? People have commitments to one another. There is a network of interest that you are integrating yourself into. You need to be aware of what you're getting into. So there's 5 concepts. Hofstede, who has heard about him in the past? Gert Hofstede. He's a guy that was working at IBM in the 60s and the 70s, and he set up kind of he was working in HR department, and he set up a very interesting analysis of how people behave and what are their expectations in front of certain values and so on. And he published a lot of studies on IBM and other corporations, Hofstede analysis, and it's been picked up since then and updated, and because it's a really good way to compare social perspectives, I should say. So if you look and if you scan this QR code using your WeChat app, right, and you scan your QR code, it will lead you to the Hofstede database, actually, which is updated yearly. And I've selected 5 different components that I want to look at with you. The first one is long-term orientation, uncertainty avoidance, masculinity and femininity, which is really a proof that it was a 60s and 70s analysis, I'm sorry on that, individualism and power distance. So the first thing is long-term orientation. Naturally, the Chinese are much more long-term oriented as well than us, which can be a bit of a bugger, because when you have a quarterly achievement, which you need to get for your board, sometimes they may not be in the same scale than you, but then at the same time, to our defense, the Chinese are very kind of go, no go. You won't hear about them for 3 months, but then they'll email you and they say it needs to happen for the end of the week. And so you need to kind of have this flexibility. Relationships, and this is Hofstede bullet points. They're not mine. I didn't kind of say, what are the consequences? This is Hofstede bullet points. Relationships are ordered by status. They're ordered by status. Okay, so again, parity. If you send in a product director in China, I'm sorry, but unless this product director has very strong guanxi to upper level, when he calls or he asks for meetings, he's not going to get the meetings with the leaders. The leaders meet with the leaders, the working levels meet with the working levels. It's like that. So be prepared if you're president of your company, but you decide to dispatch someone, that you're going to have to show up frequently, but as well somewhere in this process in order to push forward. He's not going to get the meeting. And if the Canadian government gets you that meeting that you need, and unfortunately your working level staff shows up, yeah, he's going to get in the room, they're going to make him his pitch, but then once everything is done, they're going to turn around and say, well, let's keep on going. And so you need to show up. You need to show up as leader of your own business. You need to show up. Uncertainty avoidance, the Chinese are a bit, but still more flexible than us with ambiguity. With ambiguity, right? First of all, the Chinese language is a language of ambiguity, right? As I said, you can issue a statement that is so much between the line of yes and no, you are really unsure of what's been said. And it's just like, well, I still answered your question. We can do that in English and in French, but Chinese is just like on steroids. Yeah, steroids, really. On performance-oriented or corporation-oriented, yeah, that's why it's 60s and 70s, sorry, the Chinese are ready to sacrifice family and leisure over work. And that is especially true of Chinese working in China. And not to say that they are not invested in their own family. As I said and as I described, it's supply and demand. If they don't do it, they're not going to get ahead. You need to compete. It's a jungle out there, and so it requires them on Saturday. And they get out of their home, so they're happy. But they go on business meetings. They meet with people. They take the meetings but they won't take a meeting with a potential client on Saturday. Don't ask them to meet on Saturday. But if you're part of their network, or if you're coming in to meet with your client, for sure they'll meet you on Saturday. But you won't talk about business. You'll develop your relationship. You'll go play golf. You'll go do anything. Do anything. But you'll develop your relationship for sure with your clients and your partners on Saturdays and weekends, but you won't talk about business. Even when you take someone out for dinner, right, to discuss kind of this important point in the contract, 95% personal relation, 95% personal relation, 5% business. When the fruits are served, now is the time to talk about business. And you'll see, right? When people pick their teeth this is where, yeah, because you've eaten, you've shared the food, you've drank a bit, and now it's not like, oh, and it'll be subtly announced, right? Where the fruits are there, you feel it, you feel the door is right, you feel you've eaten, and that you're ready. Push. Make your push. Be ready. Have your 3 speaking points. Say, in the future, this is what we need. This is, and you say, fine, good. Push, right? So, degree of interdependence, are you individualistic? Are you societal? Well, naturally, right? China is they work as a pack, right? It's a societal society. Actually, Chinese people, generally speaking, feel awkward when there's not enough people around. And I wouldn't say that maybe for people living in Canada, because they've been used at having less people. But my staff, for example, who invited me to his wedding, I was asking him, he came to Canada, I was like, so do you like it? And he was looking around, he's like, in Montreal, and he was like, makes me nervous. There's not enough people. It's like, well, okay, well, so he needs to be in crowd in order to feel assured. You know, there's people around. So, and that's just one example, right? But they work, and this is why actually we don't tend to put this in play enough. Chinese love to work as a team. They love to get the achievement, and once the achievement has been attained, take them out for lunch, take them out for dinner, and this is where, as a leader, you rise and you said, as a team, we've done it, you know, and then you work as a team. The teamwork spirit in China is what they've built their society on. So it's really important that you emphasize that. Power distance. We are much further, I think we could say it this way, we are much further to power than they are. Or no, they're further to power than we are. But the authority in China is speaking, you are listening, and if you are, if you're not if you have criticism, you issue that privately, because you can see that the powerful figure is much taller than you. Okay, so I think we've made that comment. So there's about 15 minutes left, and I still want to pursue on with some items that come from Pittman Potter. He is the chair of the UBC, University of British Columbia, HSBC chair on Asia. It's a long name, but Pittman Potter is among the very few, I'm unsure if he's still practicing, but he was he is still among the very few Westerners that have the eligibility to arbitrage or do arbitration between two state-owned enterprises in China. So China state-owned enterprise clashing against what they should do in China, and Pittman Potter, the foreigner, barges in and tells them what to do in Chinese. In Chinese, there's like 10 foreigners that can do that in China. He is astounding and my hero. So he's given a few China training over the years that are astounding, and so we've taken a few, with his approval, a few of these bullet points into these slides just to give you kind of the core concept that he's promoting. And you see, kind of all throughout my presentation, I've already hammered those nails, so we're kind of just going around in circle, but seeing few new layers of it, right? So information, relationship, capital, and order. Order is what? It's preparation. It's also harmony, but it's preparation. If you come in and you don't know if you go to China and for the first time, but you don't know what you need, sorry, you're kind of wasting your time, or you're not wasting your time, but you're wasting your trip. You do that assessment first so that you at least come in knowing who you need to meet, unless you have the time and the money to invest. You could just go there and explore. Just let me rephrase that. You just need to be honest with yourself. If this is a purely exploratory trip, don't expect to come back with any achievement. You're coming back with information and order. Capital, hopefully you're ready to invest. Hopefully you're ready to invest. The core concept here is, do you have the staying power? Do you have the staying power to finance your team, finance your permits, push forward and have your warehouses, have your supply chains, do the marketing? Advertising in China is more pricey than anywhere else in the world. This is a full-scale society, people, with 1.4 billion people. You think buying an ad over on TV or it's costs a lot of money. You better be ready to invest in maintaining your team and developing your presence there. If not, you could go surgical strike mode, but you better have, it's a surgical strike, you need to be experts into where and how you're going to go as well, right? You need to have your studies right. So things to do and things to don't do. I'll tell you, be memorable. Be memorable, which means that you're coming in and you want to you have a limited amount of time and you want to create long-lasting relationship in a limited amount of time. This is a challenge, right? How are you going to do this? You're going to come in and you're going to be ready as well, but in the meetings you're going to plant a few things. You will look for points of interest in between your stakeholders and yourself. Maybe his son is studying in Canada, right? Maybe he has interest in Canada. Maybe he skis. Right? Maybe he does something, but you will find points of interest with whom you can already root your personal relationship into. And this is your challenge, right? You're into a short meeting with someone, you're at a banquet with that person, the person you need beside you, you have 1 hour of talking between translator in French and in English and Chinese, you need to be memorable. So sharpen your knives. Just do something, right? Be on WeChat, because you're going to have to get their WeChat. If you, the benchmark is Chinese people will hardly respond to their email. They will respond to their WeChat. Yes, probably they'll respond to the email. Chances are, if you're emailing a leader, it's not him that's going to answer his email. It's going to be an assistant or working staff, or maybe even with his signature, but don't expect them to write it. But on this WeChat, and I've seen people giving their own WeChat to their assistants as well, where it's not him, but just you're communicating with this entity. So, but be memorable and connect with them on WeChat for sure. Let them tell you what they need. Again, high context culture. If you want to integrate in the Chinese market, don't come in as the Westerner knowing what what they should do with your product. You find the right person, this his business can take your product to the second level, he can integrate you into the market. Great, ask him, what do you need? What do you need to make this a success? Hear his story, just to see. But ask them what they need, because they are much more aware of the high context than you are. So let them tell you what they need. You can have a Chinese name for you can keep the English name of your product, or sorry, of your company. You don't need to translate it in most cases, but then have a Chinese kind of subtitle to your company name, so that they can remember, oh yeah, okay, Anmo, this is for this, right? It is a smart device, great, but have at least a Chinese component to your company name so that they can remember it. If I tell you a Chinese company name that's unknown, right, an SME out of the blue, and I ask you 2 days later, so what was that company name in Chinese I mentioned? It's very interesting, right? You won't remember. If someone has not been trained in English over the years and has been educated in English, chances are they've made huge efforts to learn English. And you need to respect that, right? Very few foreigners speak Chinese. Very few Chinese speak English, but still a very high number of them. But you need to respect that like hundreds and thousands of hours these guys and ladies have poured into learning English. Something that is also as difficult for them. If you're 20 years old, you speak only Chinese, and you start to learn English, I'll tell you it's as difficult as if you start yourself learning Chinese today. It's as difficult. And if you try to speak some Chinese, and yes, please try to speak some Chinese in your meetings. Have 1 or 2 sentences that you've prepared in your practice, 1 or 2 sentences. It will do a huge change. It will do a huge change because you are acknowledging the value of their culture, you're acknowledging the language. You need to do it. And it's simple, just presenting yourself, saying that you're very glad to be here in Chinese, but do it right. Do it right. When you see a politician walking on stage and saying, Yao, Ganbei, and people, applauding? No, no one's applauding in the room. They're saving his face. They are saving his face. And people don't know that. Major politicians from Quebec have done this, and they still keep doing it. Across the world they do this. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you're going to speak Chinese, and please do it right. They will appreciate you, they will respect you. But don't screw up with the language, because they will have to save your face. Right? What will they say in private afterward? They will have to save your face. Don't use English idioms when you have a young translator beside you. The guy or the girl just graduated from university, first mandate. She practiced all night. She read your website. She was in the car repeating. And you arrive at your meeting and you say, "We are at the bleeding edge of technology." Right, it's just like, and they say, what? How am I supposed to translate that, right? So don't put them in situations where they're like, you don't use idioms. You can use technical word. Speak slowly, speak clearly, right? The interpretation industry in China is outstanding, right? Because all the countries in the world are over there competing. And so they're outstanding. Make sure you meet with them a few hours, if not the evening before. Get them on a personal relationship, right? Promote it to them. Take them into your team, but still make sure that you respect as well that they're just a bit confused. So have your business cards and marketing material translated in Chinese. I'm saying it because it needs to be said, but I would prefer not to have to say it, but so many people get in China with English materials. They're not speaking English. They're not speaking English. If you give the leader English material, what will happen? He's going to throw that away. It's just, So if you don't speak Chinese, but you have a translator and interpret, that's fine. This is how the system works. If you're not even translating your stuff into Chinese, you're out of the game. In fact, I would say short-term objective for every one of you is to have a Chinese address. It could be a virtual office, could be something, but have somewhere that you say, look, we are in China. Yes, we have an office. Just so when they see, oh, you are in Chongqing district in Shanghai. Yes, we have an office address there. Great. They will at least be able to recognize that you start to invest in China, that you have a presence. Okay? They want you to have a presence there. They want you to have a presence there because you are then saying to them, look, I know we're in Canada, but we have a small office address. You can contact us. We want to be there. We want to shorten that distance. Okay, we want to shorten that distance. So Pittman Pottery says, be prepared, be prudent, and be balanced. Be prepared, be prudent, and be balanced. I hope the last 2 hours I've given you a bit of a mindset on be prepared. I really push it on this side. Be prepared. You see, all of those points I've already said, right? In negotiations, we all need to prepare and know what we want. But then in China specific, we'll do our mapping. We will know in the room who is the most important person we need to speak to. We will have it's thought through the ties between the state-owned enterprise and the ministries and the departments, because we've looked a bit at the regulation and we know what are their objectives and what they want to do. We will take into consideration the province-shall relationships to the central government, what are their objectives locally, and how we can help. And we will be aware that China is not a one block moving. There are rivalries against state-owned enterprise one another. There are competition as well, so you need to be aware of that. Our vice chairman, David Fong, was one of the best, or the most successful, I should say, Sino-Canadian in bilateral business. He's originally from Hong Kong, but he's been 50, 60 years in Canada. He says it this way: whenever he pitches or he negotiates with a company, he will never let them know that they are either the only stakeholder that he's talking to, or that they are the last meeting on the agenda before he goes back to Canada. He always has this next meeting, and in reality, you want that next meeting in the next province or the next city. But if you don't have it, don't let them know that. They're going to paint you in a corner and they're going to squeeze you out. You won't get the deal you need if you let them know that they're the only one on the lists. Always have your second card, because you want to be the hot product on the market that they need to get and that they need to sign, right? And there's no signature without any wire transfer, right? They need to pay if they want to get you. So this is it. But make sure that you play on the rivalries as well, right? You need to be aware on it, but play against that as well. China-specific preparation, naturally, you should be prepared to having issues of non-transparency and access to information. If your Chinese partner doesn't want to share information with you, or he kind of puts that into a black box, ask yourself questions. If you get to understand that it's because there are some Guanxi relationship, corruption, or changes of that, be aware, right? We are every time recommending to our members to not get involved into this and to make a clear statement from the beginning that you are not abiding by this, and to shut down the relationship as soon as you get into this. Once you put your finger in the cog, it's very hard to get out, and when the Chinese authorities find out, you will get fired from China, and it will be very hard. It will be very hard, over the top that you could do prison and be indicted, and it's illegal. Don't do it. So if you find a black box into your relationship, ask question, and if you find that there is corruption, we suggest to shut down the relationship immediately. Who cares? Just save yourself and your company. And so Procter & Gamble, for example, has been smashed 2 years ago for that, and they're still recouping for this. There's a rush has been as well. It's not just the SMEs over there. The large corporations are also facing huge indictments into this, and so you need to make sure that you stay away of it. Now, more network example questions. Who is participating in the negotiations? Who is not? If you're negotiating and the legal rep of the company is not there, you better understand why he's not there and be in accordance with why he's not there, because you need to negotiate with the leaders. You need to negotiate with the leaders. Where's the power? Where is the authority? As well, right? In the room. What are the reasons for the positions taken? Again, just going back and debriefing, right? Why did this person say this? What is the background meaning of it? And so on. In banquet, I think it needs to be mentioned, and we'll close on that and on gifts in 2 minutes. You need to be talkative, but be realistic and be disciplined. Especially during banquets, where there's a lot. If all is wrapped under the informal things, then you may commit yourself without knowingly, and then just be aware and stay aware. If you drink alcohol, stay in control. If your serve bites you and you want to drink it, great. Drink half glasses, depending on the rhythm that you are going to follow. I suggest to drink half glasses because it can get pretty rough. Again, so you'll see in that presentation that you share, right? These are all red flags that we suggest to keep an eye for. Naturally, if he says openly that you can bribe officials, just get out of the room. Get out of the room. Who cares? And we've done it. We've actually we have been in meetings with very important people around the room, and someone was were starting to entertain a discussion on bribes and everything, and you rise and you walk out of the room. You're not part of that discussion, and you cut that relationship as well. You don't come back. So someone recommends a specific development zone that is perfect for you. Meetings with development zone officials. Honestly, in China for CCBC, we don't take them anymore. If we need to find a specific development zone, we will do our own homework. But these guys are very pressured to find new investments for their region, for their area. They will promise the sky and heaven to you. Always validate when you select one. Always have the programs and the tax deferrals, the tax breaks that they give you be vetted by a higher government office, because they will do anything and everything to get you. And once you start investing, you put your finger in the cog. We have had members that have very bad experiences because they didn't vet upward, they were promised tax breaks and so on. None of that existed. And so things changes as well. So if they show you a tax break that was enacted 2 years ago, but that's not in effect anymore, but you fall for it, it's your problem. So make sure that this is registered. Don't fall to China's exotism, right? China's exotism, yeah. Okay. Yeah, hierarchy matters a lot in China. I've said it many times, right? You just look at it. Those are titles which you can look at. If you find someone that you need to interact with, then you go back to the hotel, you look at this and you're like, oh, okay, so he's manager, yes, he's manager, but this is his title, this is the pronunciation, this is how you call him, family name plus his title. So next time you see him, say his family name plus his title. You speak Chinese. No, but still, you respect them. This is how you call people, right? Family name plus title, family name plus title. This is the public, this is for public, and this is for prefix and suffix, so you may see a third one or something, so if they're vice or former or stuff like that. So on gifts are photo op props. Yeah. The only reason why you're giving a gift is that you have a very cool and memorable photo together, and you play on more. It's not a joke, not at all, but it's more I always struggle to define it really. It's on the cute side as well, where if you want it to be memorable, it's kind of more of a wink, right? It's just like, so honestly, the Canadian Royal Mint coins are the best you could give. A gold coin with an 8 on it, or 2018, it's a lucky year. Just a few like coins that, because you play on the Canadian culture, you play on the wealth, you play on the relationship, you play on the luck. They're very good, and especially on the Canadian culture, right? You give them something that is tangible. Put it in a red envelope. You put the coins in red envelope. Oh God, you know, this is great. And you give that as a gift, more as, you know, in two hands and something. And this is just you mentioned it's a gesture, right? It's a small gift. It's not something. And it is a photo op prop. If you give something in a box, you don't put it in a bag with paper wraps. It's useless. The Chinese want the box. They don't want the bag. They want the box. And you'll see corporate gifts are all boxed out, right? You have sometimes corporate gifts that are just, anyway, you define it as you want. And the box is worth more than what's inside. Because, you know, it's all about giving out the box. And they won't open the box themselves if you don't open it for them. Generally speaking as well, right? You may have someone who's very happy and opening it, but generally speaking, in a formal gift-giving scenario, they won't open the box. You're gonna have to do it yourself or show them, and then you can take the photo if you want it to show or not on the photo. It's your choice. Over-communicate, have your staff over-communicate with their working level staff in order to approve the gift and make sure that if they want to give back something or not. If you surprise an official or partner with a gift, you may be in a face-losing situation, both for you or for them. Maybe they cannot accept the gift and they're gonna tell you by email, you're gonna save your face. Maybe they won't have a gift given to you and you're gonna make them lose face. So they, you know, and then you'll turn around and give you the painting on the wall. And you know, it's just, oh God. Yeah. So because you didn't communicate and you're making a mistake. No black, no white, no red, no green. Okay, especially no white, but no green as well. Clothing is to be avoided, but it depends. Scarves could be good. Especially try to tailor it to the person you're meeting, really, right? Try to tailor it to the person you're meeting. If you're meeting, your stakeholder is a lady, a scarf from local material could be very interesting, but then it needs to be pre-validated. Don't surprise people with gifts in formal settings. It may just offset them because if it's not prepared. China is all about over-communication, right, and preparedness. I think I've said that. Yeah, and the green is because the green is, if you wear a green cap, your wife and husband is cheating on you. So don't do this. And we've had Canadian mayors. We've had Canadian mayors in the last few years give green caps to their sister city mayors on stage in front of hundreds of people. That was a full loss of face for both. And it's not a good relationship, I think, now for the two individuals. You know, it's just too bad, So pre-validate your gift. If you have a question, just send us a quick email, talk to ONB or you know the TCS. They can help you with that. But again, Canadian Royal Mint coins, they're winners. They're winners. It's just or a book of pictures from the province, right? Or I personally like when I have a good relationship with someone and I know I like history or they like culture or I give them old books. I'm an old book collector. I go in my library. I select something that I personally appreciate as a value, and I give it to them, and I tell them why I give it to them. So that's playing on the like I'm giving you a book that's from my library because I know you like it. So that's good. So they don't open gifts. They yeah, no four as well, right? Lots of 8, no 4. Lots of 8, no 4.
So a black hockey jersey would be well received.
It's yeah. If you dress in black, yeah, it's death. It's death. Someone just died. You know, that's generally speaking. Maybe if you know, I don't know which city, but if you know that this person has studied in this city, right? Just that overrides all of this. You're gonna see the symbol and none of that. If he is like, let's say, a Chinese Communist Party cadre, and he doesn't know anything about Canada, and you're giving him a black shirt, he might not understand the context, right? So go for the red shirt or the yellow shirt. So it all depends on the relationship and the context, right? So if for someone that is, let's say, 50s, 60s and up, and that is a Chinese that doesn't know much about Canada, don't go there. Don't take the risk. Don't take the risk.
White is also.
I wouldn't go on white. Just like you could try to find ways that or justification, but don't rationalize for them, right? Play the cards safe. You just want to. It's bridge, right? You want to empty your hand and achieve. So play it right.
So what about the first meeting scenario? is this team, are these people giving a gift?
No. Well, maybe a thought or something, but I would more leave like very interesting marketing material behind for a first gift. If you show up, sometimes people will show up in my office and give a gift, they'll give bookmarkers, or yes, but still it comes off a bit as sketchy, really. You work on that personal relationship. The best gift, the first moment you can give a gift, to my reading, is after you sign an MOU. After you sign an MOU, that's just great relationship, or when they come and visit here. You can, when you feel that there's a landmark that's been achieved, right? There's something that can be done there, or the second visit officially maybe, or when you begin to have official commercial discussion. So achievement. Meeting someone for the first time is not so. If you're hosting someone, however, let's say you're hosting someone at your office. Well, okay, maybe there's something there, right? So it's always more into the guest-host relationship. On a first handshake meeting, see it as a B2B opportunity. You need to get to know that person first. That's what I would say on this.
Could you just take 2-3 minutes to show the importance of e-commerce, how connected China is, and when I do that, I think for some of our companies, it's extremely important to be aware of that.
How it's connected? Well,
the importance of e-commerce, the importance of connected, everything is connected in China.
Well, it's just that with especially mobile, China has skipped technologies quite aggressively. There's hardly landlines in China because they've skipped from no cell phones to no phones to cell phones. There's practically no desktop computer in China because they skipped from desktop computer to laptops, and laptops are practically out the door now because people are using mobile or tablets. If you want to do e-commerce, think mobile first. However, e-commerce is also, people have a dream of e-commerce, like there's a big e-commerce mirage, and there's often a China mirage as well. The investment you need to make in e-commerce is substantial. I would say in the range of 50 to 75,000 Canadian dollars minimum if you want to get involved. And you could open you could open a store on a random website and everything, but if you have, that won't work. Alibaba controls over 80% of the e-commerce with his many platforms. If you look for a Tmall branded store, just the registration will cost you, I believe, $12,000 US, plus then setting up your store fee, your marketing fees. The pay-per-click rate actually 5 years ago was very cheap. It's now over what it costs in the US, so it has risen quite a lot. So the website in US, I think that those are 2015 data that I have in mind, but still the average Western or US website for e-commerce would change every 28 days, every month, kind of being updated and new products and stuff. In China, it can change up to 3 times a day. Because China is a leveled playing field, and if you have a Tmall store, which is a brand, Alibaba branded store, you have access to a leveled playing field. There's over 250 data points that you can access on your competitors and the whole market to kind of see, is my competitor putting a 15% discount on his product at $11.50 just before people go out for lunch and kind of just look for their product? And then, if there's, the volume, right? Because all the data points are available. You know that there's $10 million of your product that's being sold daily. So this is the demand, right? So the first 10 millions get it, and then they take the revenue. So you need to, you go out for that volume every day. So you need to spin yourself, but you can see on Tmall and on all other platforms what what are the discounts, what timing, what your competitors are using. So you need to constantly adapt yourself, because maybe you're going to say, well, I'm going to do an 18%, so I'll be just beside their price point. And then they modify it because they change the color of their wrapping, because they realize that red is more appealing to people, so they switch. And you're like, oh God, so we're going to wrap our old website in red, but our product is still going to be blue. So you're like, and you need to compete constantly. But that has a cost. That has a cost, right? A good data engineer in China will cost you about the same in China than in Canada. You walk into office buildings in China and you have rooms or offices with hundreds of very techie, very savvy, very nerdy Chinese that have studied on data management and website and e-commerce, that their daily job is to do that. But they have a life, right, that they want to maintain. They have a social status that they want to achieve. So they won't take the 5,000 renminbi, the $1,000 per month you're going to give them. They're going to need, at least $25,000, $30,000, $35,000 per month. When you need a team of 10, well, you say, well, I'm going to outsource, right? Yeah, sure, but the outsourcing company, the president, he wants to make a huge profit because he wants to have that social status as well. He needs to pay for his BMW, right? So the cost of doing e-commerce in China is needs to be taken into account. If you're ready to invest, go for it. Go for it. There's many success stories that that are out there that you can see for yourself, that we can reference you to. There's a great community as well of Canadian businesses that can help you understand, and lots of stakeholders as well. The Canadian Trade Commissioner Services, if you want to know details of how to launch yourself, we can provide you a bit of data. We have a presentation as well that we could do in greater detail, but the Trade Commissioner Services have a manual, a booklet, how to do e-commerce in China. That was actually edited, the first edition when I was there in Shanghai. It was published in 2016, second edition in 2017, so they're updating it, and it is outstanding. This document makes other countries jealous. And so they're actually put it behind a request. So you need to send an email. They will send it to you. If they delay, send me an email. I'll shoot it to you. But it's just, this is an outstanding document that will cover all of the main platforms, the registration process. There are lists of contacts in the end for 3PLs, people to manage your warehousing and everything. The e-commerce platform expects you to come in strong on logistics and after-sales service. Some of those platforms will actually deny you access if you're not showing that you have the capacity for the after-sales service, because their bet is what? Clients coming into their platform will receive 5-star after-sales service, so they will come back to buy whatever they want. If you are not helping this mission for the platform, you are hurting the platform and they will kick you off. So you need to come in strong on logistics. You need to come in strong on after-sales service. If you don't have the capacity internally, go out, but get a partner. Great for you, but that partner will charge you. Do you have the financing capacity? There is no small-scale e-commerce strategy in China. You either go big or you don't. But there's a lot to win. There's a lot to win, but you gotta go big. If you come in and if you speak to the TCS and you say, "Oh, small e-commerce website, our own independent," they'll brush you off. They'll brush you off. Go big.
Okay, thank you.
All right.